Hi, I'm Jay.
Why are my scissors sticky? And I'm Chris.
And we are a couple of grumpy old men. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Grumpy dungeon masters. I got to learn to read.
You can't read. They're after like 45 pages of
I,
roles in Discord. We can
apparently you've been D&Ding in Discord.
Yeah, the streaming service I was using stopped working, so I had to use this.
Does it have a roll function?
Yeah, just /roll and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Well, you have to add bots in, much like Craig, who's just a robot.
Okay, so you just add a bot that lets you roll?
Yeah.
Neat. The more you know.
So, what did you want to talk about today?
So we can talk about what I did to my players this past weekend.
Please.
So, being that we're still on lockdown, we're coronavirus and all that, we can't actually meet. So we're doing everything online. I don't like doing my campaign online, so we're just running 1 shots or 2 shots here and there. I have big plans for my actual campaign setting. Last time we talked about the setting a little bit, and I told you about the 9 different gods, or there are 9 deities, one of which has been dead for thousands of years, supposedly. I say this with quotation marks because obviously nobody really thinks that. So I had my players roll up new characters they're in the Wildlands, the Dragonlands, so it's all like barbarian tribes and whatnot. So everybody was just playing humans. They were level 8 characters. And the story that I pitched to them was that I needed them to go kill the White Claw clan, which are a bunch of white dragonborn. And I wanted them in the process to also kill the white dragon that they served. So they spend the first adventure session mowing through the white dragons, or the white dragonborn. And the second game session, they kill the white dragon. Well, they were fighting him inside of a glacier. And as they're fighting him, every time he roars, parts of the glacier start to collapse in. So when they finally kill him, the rest of the glacier starts to collapse in. As it begins to, they see an opening that they can run through. So they run through there and end up inside a part of an old castle that had been swallowed by the glacier. They find a whole bunch of undead in there, kill their way through those. And when they finally get to the last room, it's this giant sort of I'm trying to think of the proper word, but very just huge sized throne room. Really, really cool looking place made out of ice. There's a throne with a desiccated corpse on it and a bunch of undead. They kill the undead, and then they start to inspect the corpse that was there. After they had killed the white dragon, they looted a tiny portion of his treasure hoard, one of which was a green glowing gem. What they didn't know is that green glowing gem was actually one of the eyes for the corpse. When they got near the corpse, it took control of the person who had the gem on them and made them put it in the eye socket and then came back to life. Essentially, it was the avatar of that dead god. So then immediately it mind controls the entire party and sends them through portals out into the world to collect the things that it needs. That's pretty much where I ended it. Those PCs became NPCs for my next campaign. They are the antagonists for the next game session.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like it was a swerve that they damn sure did not see coming. Like I would never want to railroad the shit out of people like that in an actual campaign, but in a one shot, oh yeah, by all means.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if it's setting up the next leg of my actual campaign.
I did something similar with my guys before the Worldwide Excitement Party 2020 happened, where we kind of went back in time. I had to make PCs as citizens of Daggerford to investigate a problem that was happening in the manor in the Ghost of Saltmarsh book. And so I was going to take those, and whomever survived the final encounter, which I was going to change it up to be a lot of bullywugs and lizardmen, like I planned the next session of their main character's campaign to be against.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever survived would be NPCs in the town. So not really antagonists, which is a better idea. I may steal that now. But
but yeah, so they get to meet their other characters. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I like that. I have found over the years, so I never did this until recently, but the guy I play under, the other DM, Johnny, he actually will do that pretty often, where he'll use previous characters as major characters or NPCs for the current session or whatever. So I found that to be a rather interesting dynamic, and I've started kind of using it in my own campaign. Yeah, it's like I've used previous PCs of myself as NPCs in my own campaign, but I felt like they were mine, so I can do whatever I want with them. But I had never used other people's stuff until now.
And they're mind controlled, so you can still kind of control them how you like.
Yeah, maybe it's even able to be saved at some point. Like, just depending on how the storyline plays out, maybe they can save those characters. Now, I don't know that they'll want to. They were just barbarians, so.
Don't make overpowered NPCs. It's just a one-shot. All right, you guys are all now villains.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what happened, and one of them is definitely overpowered. It's the same guy who always makes the overpowered characters, so I'll make sure that he gets to fight himself.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that's what you get, Drew. It's your fault. Calling you out again.
Yeah, I did 4 games back to back over the weekend.
I did 1.
I did 4. I was very tired when I started the 4th game, which is a bunch of players investigating a pig farm. I could barely stumble through any kind of description or any type of okay, they shot an arrow. Oh yeah, I have to roll.
Yeah, there's no. When you get to that point, there's no such thing as adjectives to describe anything. Just roll the dice. Just fucking roll the dice. That's what you got.
Yeah, and I had never played with any of those people before, so I kind of explained I'm very tired. This is 4th one of the weekend, and I as a DM, I told me as a DM, I'm very bad at descriptors. I'll try to do the best I can, but I'd like to have maps that match exactly what you see. So what you see is what is there. And I'll add in the other things that you can't see, like if you hear something or smell something. I usually add those in as extras. So when we started, it was just here's a farm. It's on fire. The farmer with you got shot in the neck. Roll initiative. And then when I got to the end, I was feeling a lot better. I got my second wind. My 4th monster kicked in for the day, and I was able to
finish out.
Finish out. Leave them with some good memories and plant some scary seeds for further stories for them. So
yeah, I've never even considered running 4 games in a row. That's never crossed my mind. I've played in a game session before that went 18 hours, but that was also when I was 20, 21, somewhere around there.
The longest one I ever did was with my father. His first D&D game. I made him play it. I invited a friend over. We started around noon, and we ended probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I really had never designed a campaign of my own at that time. But what I want to do is from beginning to finish an old board game called Dark Tower, where you have to go raid ruins and old keeps and collect keys and then go assault the Dark Tower with the keys and open the locked doors and stuff like that. So I had designed out 20 different combat encounters. And my father has never played D&D before, but he'll play games. So I built him essentially Thor, and he did everything perfectly fine. We had my brother was over. He played a paladin healer. another friend of mine play a wizard, and they got through the whole thing, killed everything, killed the adult black dragon at the end of the game, and it was pretty solid. But like I said, it took forever to get
Yep.
that game completed. I don't think my dad ever wants to play D&D again because of it, but
Yeah, I'm sure after one game session, he's like, I don't have enough time to do this in my life. If every game session is 12 hours, we can't do this.
Yeah, I think the next day too, we watched all the extended edition Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
That was
jeez, man.
the following day, back to back to back.
I've never sat through 2 episodes, like 2 of the Lord of the Rings movies. Not even extended, just regular. I've never made it through 2 of them in a day.
Well, at this time, I was still a bachelor, living by myself, and I invite him down. All we did is watch movies. So, like one time we did this, we watched something like 60 movies, maybe 50. Like we watched like all the Rockies, Lord of the Rings, all the Godfathers,
Wow.
most of the James Bonds, and then every other movie you could think of. Like we went to Walmart and walked away with $100 in just new movies we wanted to watch, and most from the $5 bin. So
I mean, honestly, it doesn't sound like a horrible weekend. I know when I was younger.
Week.
Week, whatever. When I was younger, that's absolutely something I would have done. As I've gotten older, I don't feel like I have the time to do that, or even the desire. I personally, my mind has to be proactive. Like I have to be doing something. So I'd rather be watching, I don't know, watching a video, not movies, but videos about things, or playing video games because my mind is constantly active when doing that. With movies, after a couple hours, I start to just sort of drift off if it's not super entertaining.
Yeah.
And 9 hours of movies, never fucking happening.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't pull it off nowadays. But next weekend too, I have about 4 game sessions planned, all right in a row again. So we'll see how that goes.
Sheesh. Yeah, can't do that. One a weekend, that's it for me. I've run one and then played in one, but not more than 2 games over the course of a weekend. Too much. All right, so tonight I think we're going to talk about alignments and our sort of thoughts on them.
What's an alignment? I've never heard of that. Is that new in 5th edition? Or has it been around
just added, never been seen before. What page is that nonsense on?
Well, I was looking them up just for reference. I got the 3rd edition book here. I got the 4th edition book here. I didn't even look at 5th because my understanding of 5th and 3rd is they're exactly the same.
Yeah. What were they different in 4th?
Yes, they very much were.
Ooh, well, tell me all about that because I said, I don't know shit about 4th.
Go through the bases of 5th first.
As soon as I ever find them.
Google.
No, I have my book here in my hand. I just have to find it in the book. I saw it.
Google alignments 5th edition.
Come on, Craig. Do something.
You ain't no Siri.
Nope. Craig, you suck. Wow, okay, I guess I'll just go to the fucking index and find it. I'm sure fans are going to love listening to me looking for alignments in a book.
Flip. Oh, here's the page.
Yeah, where are you? Alignment, page 122. Ooh. So anybody who's looking for it, now you know where to go. All right, I will give you the very brief synopsis of each of the alignments as written in 5th. Lawful good. Creatures can be counted on to do the right thing as expected by society. Neutral good. Folks do the best they can to help others according to their need. And chaotic good. Creatures act as their conscience directs with little regard for what others expect. Lawful neutral. Individuals act in accordance with law, tradition, or personal codes. And that's an important one, or personal codes. Neutral. That's the alignment. Neutral is the alignment of those who prefer to steer clear of moral questions and don't take sides, doing what seems best at the time. And this one I actually disagree with. on the neutral setting. Chaotic neutral. Creatures follow their whims, holding their personal freedom above all else. I actually like this one. I think it's different in 3rd edition. At the very, very least, it is role-played incorrectly 99% of the time. So, lawful evil. Creatures methodically take what they want within the limits of a code of tradition, loyalty, or order. Neutral evil is the alignment of those who do whatever they can get away with without compassion or qualms. And then chaotic evil. Creatures act with arbitrary violence, spurred by their greed, hatred, or bloodlust. Hey, you're looking at the 3rd edition one?
Yeah, I got that one in front of me right now.
So those more or less line up?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, the nuances have changed since this printing of this book,
Yeah.
But essentially, it all still lines up. I think people have kind of used the alignment system and kind of expanded their knowledge of it and applied their own personal moral bubble to it. It's always been kind of, shifts with the game session. But yeah, this one has a paragraph for each of the sections. I'm not gonna, recap all those.
Yeah, there's no need. How is 4th different?
So 4th edition is kind of what everyone dismisses everything out of 4th. But 4th has 5 alignments.
Well, that's a definite change.
Yeah. There's good, lawful good, evil, chaotic evil, and unaligned.
Yeah, that's very different than what I'm used to.
They pretty much took out, the lawful evil. They took out the chaotic good, and they took out like the neutrals and kind of rolled them kind of into other ones. But basically, they wanted to basically give a huge line between this is your alignment as a PC as it relates to the world versus your personality as a player playing the game. Just to kind of quickly read the block here. So they have the alignment and they list out what each alignment is, and it pretty much lines up with what you just read for each individual one that would be lawful good or chaotic evil.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a block here that's alignment versus personality. So certain personality traits have a moral weight, particularly those that influence how you interact with others. Cruelty and generosity can be considered personality traits, but there are also manifestations of your beliefs about the importance and worth of other people. A character who aspires to be good might have a cruel streak, but if that streak manifests too frequently or in extreme ways, it's hard to say he's really upholding his moral ideals. Other personality traits have no moral weight at all. A well-organized person can just as easily be evil as good. An impulsive prankster can also be good or evil. These quirks of personality are most unrelated to alignment, but your alignment might affect the way your personality translates into action. An evil prankster might favor cruel practical jokes that cause personal harm and damage property, while a good one may steer away from such injurious acts. They wanted to try, because the system of the original 9 was so broad and so boxed in at the same time, and people version of what chaotic good really means, they just try to okay, you're either good or you're evil.
Okay, well, let's take a step back here.
Okay,
because I've thought on this a lot. All right, so from in the beginning, alignment. So the idea of alignment came from the Michael Moorcock books. Are you familiar with him?
No.
Elric. So the Elric books. Elric. Mm-hmm. So he wrote these, I think, in the 70s.
Okay.
And these were around before Dungeons and Dragons. Let me verify all this shit that I'm saying. 1961 was when he first wrote the books. And so they were the first place where anyone had heard of alignments. This is before D&D, before role-playing games. And it was effectively law versus chaos. And law and chaos in that setting was a very tangible thing. Like you could pretty much, think Warhammer, the Warhammer setting and how law and chaos are in those. You have the Chaos Knights versus the Empire's law. That is almost a direct translation from the Michael Moorcock books. So when D&D came out, they kind of tried to make that a thing. So alignments, as they are in Dungeons and Dragons, are really and truly supposed to be more of a physical element. That's why you have the angels, which are law and good, and you have the demons, which are chaos and evil. So anybody who has an alignment in the game, it's not even supposed to be about your personality. It's just, this is what you are. You are lawful good. You are chaotic evil. It doesn't provide for gray areas. Neutral, I think, and this is where I'm saying I sort of disagree with their description of it. Neutral, I'll read it again. That's the alignment of those who prefer to steer clear of moral questions and don't take sides. That's where I disagree. I think neutral in D&D is the default setting. It is a standard person getting by day, regardless of personality. And every situation they come upon, they have to make a choice, whether it be good or whether it be evil, whether it leans one way or the other. Somebody tells you that they stole a horse, you have a moral choice at that point. If you're good, you're automatically going to go the good route. If you're evil, you're going to go the evil route. And if you are that neutral person, you can swing either way. It's not a steering clear of moral questions and not taking sides so much as it's just based on every situation. You have to make a decision. Anyway, that's sort of my understanding of alignments and how they came about.
Okay.
Like the worlds are supposed to be very black and white.
And I will say, ever since my exposure to Dungeons and Dragons, since I didn't play third at all, starting in fourth, I've never noticed that being a constant theme in anything that I've done in fourth or fifth. Like, you see that a demon is lawful evil, goblins are chaotic evil, but it's not anything more than almost like a personality trait, much like fourth was trying to avoid.
Yeah, fifth has not heavily. They haven't heavily pushed alignment. They brought back alignments from third edition, but it sounds like from your explanation of fourth, they've sort of just nullified them more.
Yeah, because they I remember reading or hearing a podcast on why they changed it in fourth was because a lot of people were basically getting too hung up on what the alignment was for character, and it was causing discord at the table. We're like, no, you're lawful good. You would never do that. Well, you can do bad things and still be lawful good, And that's they may have swung too quickly, too far the other way. But at the same time, too, the I'm going to call them the Power 9. The Power 9 alignments are very iconic and things I don't think you should ever remove from D&D. You have to kind of basically redefine what they are. If you don't want chaos and order to be physical elements like the Warhammer universe has them, then you have to kind of like slowly teeter them down and change them little by little over time until it matches the current generation's play style. And I think the way it currently works, where it's there but doesn't really matter, is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
third edition, it was very much a physical element, even sort of within the rules of the game. There were a ton of magic items that you could only use if you were good or evil. There were magic items that dealt extra damage to evil or specific alignment creatures. In 5th edition, it's not completely gone, but alignments do not matter nearly as much in this aspect. Like
just protection from good and evil, that's about it.
It's very much been minimized. I personally, I like the fact of them being almost a physical element. That being said, with the way 5th edition is, I don't hold my players to any alignment. very simply because of the fact that it doesn't matter so much within the rules. I make them all pick an alignment because because there is protection from good and evil and things. But if they decide to not hold to that alignment, I don't really care. If they're playing a good character and they start murder hoboing everybody, I'm going to make them shift the alignment. But otherwise, it's just a non-starter. It's not even an issue anymore.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much in the same ballpark as you now with everyone that I play fifth with. At my table, I enforce more, not the alignment code, but almost like the character, like class code. Like, if you want to play a drow matron cleric of Lolth, you better be playing a drow matron cleric of Lolth. You better not be going to other temples and getting, praying to those gods for blessings and shit like that. If you're
especially Forgotten Realms setting, that doesn't end well.
And that actually is what I was about to say is like it may just honestly be the current major setting, which is Faerun in D&D proper. That's maybe why alignments don't matter anymore, because it doesn't seem to be a real force of contention. It's more politics and inner house conflicts.
Yeah, the current state of Forgotten Realms definitely seems to have swung that way. Once again, I was playing in Forgotten Realms in 2nd and 3rd edition, and at that time period, you had Drizzt Do'Urden was a major character. You had Elminster, and I know these characters are still around, but they were sort of the pinnacle of good at the time. They were what that setting was built around.
Yeah.
And they always tried to do the right thing, and I don't know, just all the books and everything was written around that as a feel. Now, mind you, that was, who owned them in 3rd edition? Was it still TSR, or was it WotC at that point?
No, look at the front of the book.
Yeah, I don't have the book in front of me at the moment.
It was Wizards.
Okay, so they had it at that point, but they had just bought it out from TSR, so they probably didn't want to change too much about it. At that time period, it really, D&D was sort of a cult thing. Like it didn't have a massive following like it does now. Now you see the shit everywhere. So maybe they've tried to make it more palatable to the masses, I guess.
Well, I think it's a meme right now. We really think about how many times have we seen the whole like, oh, here's the Firefly crew, but in your alignment scale, everyone just like shoving their characters.
Yeah, Jane with the chaotic or neutral evil, of course.
Yeah, but I've seen Mal put in like every single slot, except for the evil side.
Well, Mal, according to the 5th edition alignment scale, he would be straight up chaotic neutral.
Right, but like I said, I've seen because everyone has like their own ideals of what each alignment is, and they'll put Mal anywhere. So, I can see why, from like the developer side, like it doesn't matter what we say; people are just going to put them into their own little blocks anyways. So maybe that's why. I mean, in 3rd edition, we have 3 full pages of details about each alignment and how they work and how they operate and what their details are. I'm pretty sure 5th is like half a page.
5th edition is literally about a third of a page, if that. So the thing is, like I said, with it, it's supposed to be a very physical thing. Alignments are intended, and I think in 5th edition they are too, they just don't push it as much, but I think they are intended to be a period. This is your character. It's not it's not an area you strive to be in. It's supposed to be, this is what you play. It's almost more of the background of your character is the alignment. Like chaotic neutral, creatures follow their whims, holding their personal freedom above all else. It doesn't mean that you won't do. Well, actually, yeah, I guess chaotic neutral you kind of would do. Nothing lawful if it impeded your freedom. That's a hard one to describe. I'm trying to wrap my own brain around it. And okay, this is actually a perfect example. Is the fact that I am having a hard time wrapping my brain around alignments, and I've been playing this game for 30 years. So I absolutely see why the developers have wanted to move away from it.
And ultimately, maybe because my first exposure was 4th edition, I've kind of stayed put in that. Like, you can choose whatever alignment you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, are you good or are you evil? Do you follow the laws of society or do you rally against them?
Yes.
And at that point in time, you fall into whatever like minute box that you want to fall into. And, you know, as long as you're not like, as long as you're my drow fighter and you're not getting resurrected at the Temple of Palor, I'm not going to shake my finger at you for being the wrong alignment. Because even if, hold on one second, let me grab my Waterdeep book here.
All right.
Because I think this is the only time I've actually saw reference to players' alignment mattering in any current D&D book. I'm definitely wrong about that, but this is my only.
It's the only one you can. Yeah, it's the one you can think of off the top of your head.
So in Waterdeep, you at one point in time have to join. You don't have to, but you have the opportunity to join a faction within Waterdeep.
Well, yeah, you start off with working for the Flaming Fist, which I think were a lawful evil aligned organization.
Not the start of Waterdeep.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking in Vernus. I haven't played
Vernus.
Waterdeep. Yeah.
So you can join the Zentarum, and
oh yeah, they're definitely evil.
Yeah, the Doom Raiders try to contact evil aligned or morally ambiguous characters. So even here, where your alignment matters, evil aligned or morally ambiguous characters. So they gave you the alignment check.
Morally ambiguous there leaves it open.
Right. And then like even the other ones, like the Silver Gauntlet or so the Order of the Gauntlet, they recruit neutral, good. And will stray away from evil. So like this is the only time I remember actually seeing like where alignment mattered from like an RP perspective in the book. And even then they leave it open for anyone to kind of really just want to go in there.
Yeah, it's also kind of interesting because it does steer away from chaos and law. Now they're just making it more of the black and white good and evil.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a trope that's as old as time. You know, good has always battled evil. Didn't see law versus chaos until the Michael Moorcock books. So I guess D&D just sort of combined all of the alignments and came up with the list they've got.
So I went through a phase where I collected a lot of random role-playing books. The phase lasted all of one book that I found.
Well, Lord knows I have collected many role-playing games over the years.
I was trying to find obscure ones and ones that were actually like a lot of effort was put into it, not just like a pamphlet printing out.
Yeah.
So this system here is called Imagine. It's the Imagine role-playing system.
Okay, never heard of it.
Released in 1999.
All right.
1997.
That was back when I was buying and collecting them. So
it's a typical D&D book, and I had grabbed it and picked it up just to see what their alignment code was. And theirs is basically you have your good and evil and your neutral, okay, like you always do.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like this passive and active trait that you have for each like lawful good, neutral, evil, and then they call it fanatical evil. And what essentially it is they want you to have a moral. They want you to have they want you to have this like, here's where you stand in the world. You know, almost like a physical embodiment, like you mentioned earlier. So you have like this weird, instead of like having a power 9, you have a scale of north to south would be good, evil, east to west would be active and passive. And then like
it's like a political compass test.
Right. Yeah, and then the political compass test would be moral, order, chaos, and immoral. And you basically fall into those areas, and that's what you are. But there's some crossover between it. So like you could be moral and enjoy order and be good, or you can be moral and chaotic and be very active but not as good or evil. And just as a quick example, they have from good, an active good player are people who choose to have a sense of duty to society. They often serve as politicians or leaders. They demand fair treatment for all, and they feel strongly about justice being served in the world and acting upon their feelings. So that's a good active person.
Sure.
A good passive person is they're quiet about their beliefs. They serve as seers, healers, teachers, counselors. They often help in ways that are not high profile. They're confident and patient. They despise suffering and pain that people are forced to endure and will intervene on behalf of the needy.
God, I feel like I'm taking the Myers-Briggs test right now.
And then, yeah, this is 7 pages to talk about their alignment and moral system that they got to go through.
No wonder that game failed.
I don't know if it failed, but it definitely is like you could go one way or the other with alignments. You could delve deep into it and really come up with a system that is really rigid and that you fit in this particular square. You're a triangle, but you fit in the circle. Or you can just kind of be kind of loosey-goosey with it and just let people play what they want to play.
I actually like that as a thought experiment type thing. But for certain games, I guess it depends on the DM. How deep do you really want to go? That's a rabbit hole that you could open up that you can build an entire campaign specifically based off of alignment rather easily. If you are more interested in, hey, let's just play a game. I got 2 hours to throw something together so that I can entertain my players. Most people are just not going to worry about stuff like that. I have played with DMs who literally spend 16 hours out of a week working on a game. And those games are generally incredible, but man, it's just so much work and effort to be a player in those, let alone somebody who's a game master in that.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it's just so much easier to play against the player's class or background standing. Like, if you come up to me and you tell me that you're playing a fighter noble of an old house in Waterdeep, you better be playing a fighter noble in an old house in Waterdeep, or you're going to suffer the consequences for it. I don't care if you're good or evil. I don't care if you're neutral. It doesn't bother me at all. You're of this noble house. I want to see that on my table more than I'm going to be a lawful good paladin and follow the law and ruin the game for everybody when I become lawful stupid instead of lawful good.
Yep. Okay, so let's have a quick grump right now. Since you're going on about how lawful good, lawful stupid, I'm gonna bitch about chaotic neutral. Fucking people do not know how to play chaotic neutral. I've always run into players who want to play chaotic neutral as I do whatever I want, whenever I want, be damned the consequences. I can't think of anyone who ever has played that alignment right. That being said, I have actually seen perfect descriptions of what chaotic neutral is in the news currently. So we're currently during lockdown with the coronavirus, and every day you see about people who are protesting, not wearing masks while wielding guns. Mind you, they haven't shot anybody, but their concern over their own freedoms, right or wrong, true or not, that is what chaotic neutral are. These people are out there protesting in the most absurd ways possible, upholding their rights to freedom. That is what a chaotic neutral person would be. They are somebody who every day eats, sleeps, and breathes what their own rights are. And if anyone gets in the way, it doesn't mean they're going to go kill them. It doesn't mean they're going to shoot them. That's imposing their own freedoms and or their own rights on other people. But they want personal freedom over everything. That's what chaotic neutral is. That's what it should be in Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, hell, even the description they give in the 5th edition book says that almost exactly. So if you fuckers want to play chaotic neutral, do it right. You don't murder hobo. That's wrong. That's evil. All right, grump over.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people you have played with that are chaotic, that play chaotic neutral, but I get it all the time, and it's never played right.
Well, I can look it up real quick, but I think for the most part, like my wife is playing the Drow Matron, and she's I'm not gonna say had difficulty staying lawful evil because she doesn't go out of her way to cause problems. She doesn't sow destruction until Lolth told her to go, kill the priestess in the Temple of Illustray. She hadn't gone out and just outright murdered innocent people. But when she got to the fucking church and she got into the temple, she murdered every single last person in there. If they were Drow and they were worshiping Illustray, they were dead.
Sounds like neutral evil.
Yeah, and she kind of falls into the neutral evil position, which I think is allowed in the current system.
I mean, it's the current system is whatever you want to allow. It's your game session.
No, it specifically says a Drow.
Well, the Drow as a society are chaotic evil. Individuals can be any alignment.
Right. I'm just gonna look at them. I'm trying to look through the book real quick.
Yeah, see, I wish they had kind of explained that more, and that's just something I've figured out over the years. Is you have personal alignments and then you have societal alignments, and I didn't see. I saw a little bit of that in the 3rd edition books, but you don't 5th edition. I haven't ever seen that mentioned. Like hobgoblins, individually, the majority of them are lawful evil, and as a society, they're almost all lawful evil. But individuals can still be any alignment. So, what are you trying to find?
I was just trying to find. I'm pretty sure in the book it said that Drow are neutral evil, chaotic evil, or chaotic neutral.
Yeah, that would be the vast majority of them.
So she falls within one of those 3 all the time. She doesn't go out causing problems. She's in Waterdeep undercover. She's not going to blow her cover.
Yeah.
But at the same time.
Yeah, like even the perfect description of what you explained in the 5th edition is neutral evil is the alignment of those who do whatever they can get away with without compassion or qualms. So
that's definitely them.
Yeah, you're not going out causing trouble because that makes it hard to get away with it. But if you can get away with it, you'll do it.
And that's actually the problem with that whole campaign is because they have Troll Skull Manor, which is now called Beholder Skull Manor, and they're pretty much undercover, they're lying low, and they've gotten the treasure, they've gotten lots of treasure from everybody else. They don't really have a need to go out of their abode to sow destruction. It's just like when shit comes knocking at the door, they just kind of answer it and go, God damn it, not again. And then they have to go out to the greater world and solve whatever crisis is being asked upon because they're the people that helped Lord Neverember at the beginning of the book. And their building keeps getting attacked because they won't leave it.
That sounds familiar. One of the characters in the last campaign I was running was like that. He just wanted to be left alone on his farm, but because he had gotten tied into all the other characters, every time something would happen, they'd have to come get him to go with them. Just wanted to be left alone.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it away, but I was reading an article on D&D Beyond about creating a villain for the characters, and they had a couple good points about how to create a political villain for them. So once they finish up the current session, they head back to Waterdeep, I'm going to have a political villain for them based on the actions that they did while they were in Waterdeep. So it'll be interesting. I think they'll keep playing their characters as they play their characters. One of the guys is a harper, so he keeps like, I'm just not going to be seen. I'm not going to be heard doing evil deeds. And if I get caught doing an evil deed, I'm going to make sure I pay off all the people who saw it. I'll find some other way to bribe them.
That doesn't sound like a harper.
Blackmail them to make sure they don't turn me in.
Harper, yeah, if he was found out doing all that stuff by the rest of the Harpers, he wouldn't be one for long. Right.
But that's how they're kind of playing it. They're just like they're the grumpy old hermits who want to be left alone. But I can't play that at the table. Let's just want to sit down and eat pizza and not do anything for 4 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. The characters want to be left alone. The players want more of what you're selling them.
Yeah. I got a lot of use out of that Troll Skull Manor map.
Good deal. Anything else we should talk about on alignments specifically? Are
What
there
is
any?
your what
Yeah,
is your general advice for people who are arguing over alignment?
my general advice. So, as a DM, as a game master, you have to make the decision kind of ahead of time of how much you care about alignment. The campaign that I currently run or was currently running, I decided I don't care about alignment. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to make players hold to whatever alignment they pick. That being said, if you really, really want to make alignment an issue that matters, you need to let your players know ahead of time that it does. And you expect them to stick to those alignments. I've always had, there are always issues when you have players in a group who don't want to play cohesive alignments. Like the game flows so much easier and so much better if everybody is lawful and neutral good, because everybody is mostly on the same page. Even neutral kind of fits in there. If you start adding in the chaotic alignments, honestly, is where everything can sort of go off the rails, or even evil. Evil and good just doesn't generally mix very well for long. The campaign I was running, we had one player. Everybody else was either good or neutral. We had one player who was lawful evil, which if you're going to be evil, it's the best one to be. It means you're causing the least amount of problems. But in every scenario, in every situation, that character was a problem for the rest of the group because he was greedy and he was power hungry. He would never sell out the group. He would never do anything to hurt the group. But everybody else that they came across was fair game. And it was it pretty much was a constant problem. So if you're going to run alignments, if you care about alignments, you need to make sure that you limit the alignments that are allowed. That would be my own personal advice.
I would say just do what's fun with the players. I have to play with a lot of random people who are new to the game. And, I kind of just show them the sections in the book and say, hey, here's what they are. Here's what they generally mean. Give them a couple examples of what it could possibly mean to them and what their best understanding is. And then because they're new, I can usually ask them, it's like, would a chaotic character to you do this? Would a neutral character go out of his way to, feed the poor, for example?
Almost
And
certainly not.
and let them kind of figure it out on their own. And I think that's just kind of the state of the game that they want it to be, And at the same time, I don't really enforce it unless it's absolutely necessary. Protection from good and evil is the only spell that I can think of that I always come across that somebody has, that someone will use to try to get, protection from demons. But they always seem to fall into the same line of angels are good, demons are bad. That's where we're going to be.
Unless I'm running the campaign and then they fight evil angels.
Unless this is Ultima.
Yeah. Ultima. I missed that series. Thank you, Richard Garriott. You made great games.
You just gotta kind of roll with it, and like I said, I'd rather force class constraints than anything else. Or role constraints, or use their background. That's another thing that people.
It's definitely underutilized.
Yeah, if you were a knight and you're not being knightly, I don't care what your alignment is. You better be knightly. That's what matters to me at the end of the day.
Yeah, truthfully, create the character that you want to play. Pick the alignment that most aligns with it, and then continue to play the character that you want to play. If you're playing them the way they're intended, you're going to hit your alignment anyway.
The only time I can ever think of as a player, which has always been very little, that I actually was told by DM is like, if you do this, you're going to shift to evil. I was like, I hope so, and I did it. So
now all of that being said, for player advice, pick alignments that work with the rest of the group. because we've said it before, we'll say it again. You are there to have fun, and you are there to help everyone else have fun. If you're playing a difficult character, it's ruining the fun for everyone else.
Yep. I've always wanted to play a lawful stupid paladin.
Someday.
But I would tell the players first, this is a one shot. I'm playing a lawful stupid paladin because I just wanna. And it'll be great.
Yep, it'll one shot. It doesn't matter as much. Worst thing that happens is the party just kills you off, and you make a new character or go home for the night.
I'll just do the whole like junior on it and like here he is.
There he is, lawful paladin junior. All right, I think we've about covered enough.
All right, bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.